really alerted me. The first time I was impacted by, phone usage as something that made me uncomfortable, I was actually with a buddy of mine a few years ago. I think in a market where I actually met my wife, Andrea, and we were waiting for her to arrive with some friends.
Mhm.
And this guy was always on his phone. He was never, ever present with me. And I was just like, why are you so much on your phone? But, there's a peer pressure that goes around with this biological hazard, because I think I consider this nowadays a biohazard. And I'm actually, and a few years later, I see myself as addicted to my smartphone as this person. And my kids are mad at me because I'm not being able to give them 100% of my presence.
Yeah.
And then I'm all like, oh my God, I need to do a dopamine detox. And then I start reading these books. So I read Jonathan Haidt. I read Gabor Mate's Scattered Minds. Started listening to some podcasts about this issue. And then now I actually just finished Daniel Amen's ADD book. I don't know if you're familiar with him. It's really good, really good. I think it's called Healing ADD. I think it's by Daniel G. Amen. Look at what this guy. This guy's is a psychiatrist, and he's scanned around 300,000 brains already.
Wow.
So,
I think I've seen a clip about this, about the imaging that they can pull
right.
from a user, and the how quickly the brain can actually repair in abstinence. Like it comes back if you can just separate, which gives you a little hope that it's not permanent, but also that lacks a little bit of immediacy, right? You're like, I can quit later, which is not really a good pathway either.
Dude, I tell you, I tried to stay 5 days. Tried to do a complete digital detox 5 days before this podcast because I wanted to come in with the healthiest brain possible. I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it just because, everything is going down on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm getting certified as a licensed therapist, for example. And I have to watch these classes, and they're either on the phone or on the iPad or on the laptop. So how am I going to stay 5 days? And then, but what I was able to do, and I'm going to try this challenge again. I'm going to challenge myself again to stay 5 days, is to leave my phone on Friday night, because I figure Friday night, the work is over. I've got nothing else that needs me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm only going to pick it up on Sunday at the end of the day to see what went on the weekend, or maybe even Monday after breakfast. And perhaps I'll give myself one moment where I could pick up my phone during the weekend, but like isolated. Like, let's take it out for like 10, 20 minutes, see if anyone sent me a message that's regarding health, regarding some emergency. I've got a child from my first marriage that lives in another state. It's good to be in contact with him. So I'll take that time to call him. But otherwise, I will not let this drain my energy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't even, I don't know, we haven't even really started because I'm a terrible host. I speak more than my guests, which
You've got some great points for me to chew on and think about as we circle around the conversation. I think a lot about, like obviously we know that the device itself and the apps that we use are designed to addict us, right? Like we're in the attention economy. Our attention is commodified and monetized now. And we know those pieces are there. And I think it's important sometimes to like, all right, we already know we're combating that, right? But what is it that like you're going to the phone each time for, right? And I think a lot about how, and I have this as like an artist, as a professional, as someone who, and I think you're this way too, Max, especially someone who's kind of reinventing themselves into a new pathway of a career. you're never quite satisfied, right? Like you always feel like you could achieve a little bit more. And it's not necessarily money, and it's not necessarily status, but there's always a project. There's always something, there's always a mountain to climb. And that's something that keeps us as human beings often like moving forward, right? We have to have these things that we achieve when kind of we're left with our own boredom, which is, a lot of people talk about where that's creativity comes from. We can talk about that separately. But this is a desire that we have to just keep aspiring for something more and more and more. And we've learned that we can find those things, or at least the illusion of them, through our phones. So, it's easy to say, all right, I'm going to take the weekend off and put my phone away. And if you really sit in that time period, you're not really missing the dopamine from the scrolls. It's like you feel like, or at least for me, I feel like I'm missing out on these greater goals that I'm trying to achieve. And that happens only when you're not sitting down and looking around and saying, my kids are playing right now. They want me to sit and read with them. I live in this beautiful home. I have a healthy family. We have food in the kitchen. And if you could just sit in that peace and in that success where you just are, in that success in the room that you are dwelling in, or that you're living in, it makes leaving the phone a lot easier. And that's just a framework that I've been kind of chewing on. I'm not here to preach that I've figured it all out, because I certainly haven't. And especially right now where my work is being just blasted everywhere. And, my agent stays really busy taking care of all the incoming inquiries and stuff. But as an artist, it's like, damn, all these people want my work right now, and that's fulfilling. But I have to balance, like, are those media requests and publications have a greater value than having, some really good one-on-one time with my wife when she's rarely home? She works as a pediatrician at a teaching hospital. And it's like, we can blame the phone all we want, but we're injecting onto it all the other things that we're trying to achieve in the world. And so you've got to be at peace with where you're sitting, with the people you're sitting with, in order to not be drawn so deeply by that magical box.
That's true. That's a good point. It's like a deposit for loneliness. Where you put your loneliness, because you can get artificial affection, which will never substitute real affection. It's like, I saw that you were very influenced by the author of that Alone Together book, Sherry what's her last name?
Turkle.
I forgot.
Yeah, Sherry Turkle.
Sherry Turkle. And on her TED Talk, she says exactly that. It's like, a machine is not a good substitute for another human being. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. I don't know if I retrace. I wasn't so addicted to my phone until maybe I started losing myself in life. Kind of when I was going through my first divorce, and I was really stressed, and I had absolutely no one. And then I think maybe the phone was there, and then all the biology behind it and the hormones. Like I go through withdrawal symptoms. Like it's pretty intense, but it's pretty good, because after I get through the hump, that first hump, it's like intermittent or prolonged fasting. When you fast, you get those what's it called? Ketones. The ketones generating energy from your body fat, and that boosts your brain. And then you're like, what? Food? No, why? Why do I want food? I don't even want it. I'm so much happier.